All right, we are live. Hi and welcome everyone to Office Hours here on the ViaMonstra Academy. This is where you can ask questions on pretty much anything: Intune, ConfigMgr, MDT, imaging, Windows in general, a bit of PowerShell, a bit of Azure, shorthand, the fun stuff. So that being said, let the show begin. And here we are. Hey Andrew, how are things?
We are definitely in the new year. Uh, things have been getting busy. Twitter's been busy this week. I no longer, sadly, have my Christmas decorations up.
Yeah, I did the same. I have all right. Until next year.
Yep.
Maybe we should come up with something for Halloween. I didn't follow that, but maybe. Have a few months to plan that one out.
yeah, at least a couple.
Yeah. So what's up in the real world?
Seems like quite a bit. So the last couple of weeks, I think, as we tried to get some news updates, we had things trickling in a little bit, but man, we got a lot this week. So just yesterday, I saw the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit got a nice big update to version 3.9. So those of you out there that use this toolkit's been around for a long time. I've heard nothing but great feedback on it. A lot of big updates. So usually, anytime they update, there's a lot of news surrounding that. In fact, our friend Matthias interviewed the founders of the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit as well. So this interview came out yesterday. Pretty well related to a big release, I would say. So I've got this on my list of things to watch later this evening. A couple of other things. I've got saw a post from Rene Laas on reporting all Defender for Endpoint devices. So this is a solution that uses Azure Logic Apps and a SharePoint site to produce an Excel report of all of the Defender for Endpoint devices that you may have in your tenant. So some good stuff there. Last week, I mentioned Damien had a blog post on getting the top 50 devices that have a blue screen. And at the bottom of that blog post, he mentioned that he was going to have a follow up on how to actually send a regular scheduled Teams notification about those top 50 devices. So, true to his word, he released a blog post yesterday that involves running a PowerShell script on Azure Automation that will report those top 50 device models to Teams on a regular schedule. So that was pretty good stuff. Also, another blog post from Niklas Tinner keeps the hits coming with Logic Apps and the Intune audit log. So, Niklas, if you're out there, it looks like you're doing some really great stuff with the Intune audit log lately. And I've been following along with a lot of the Logic Apps examples that he's been putting out. So, basically, using the Intune audit log as a way to do some event-based triggering, either to notify somebody that something was going on with the audit log, or run some other action either through Logic Apps or some other automation tool. So there's been some nice, like I said, this has mostly been surrounding the audit log, but this sort of helps just get the gears turning on what you could do to do some event-based automation with these tools, which I think is awesome. That's one of the big reasons I try to pay attention to these things out there. So thank you for that. A couple Microsoft updates I saw, or at least one big one that I know people have been looking forward to for a while, is IPv6 support is coming to Azure AD. targeted the end of March of this year. This is a big deal for those of you that use user and sign-in risk policies with Azure AD identity protection and conditional access policies. This is going to help catch more of those higher level risk actions that you may not have seen in the past because they came through on IPv6. This is also, this is targeting end of March as a beginning to roll out. And if you are using named locations and you have IPv6 enabled on your network, one of the things that they mentioned in this announcement is that you'll need to adjust those named locations as well. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to continue to make good on our promise to mention MMS probably every week until we get to May. If you've not been to MMS before, or if you're not already set up for with tickets to go to this MMS, this is a great opportunity. They announced earlier this week that they are giving away a free conference pass. For the most part, all you have to do is join the Discord server that we've mentioned a couple of times on here and react to the giveaway in the giveaways channel. So this giveaway goes through, I believe, this Friday evening, so the end of January 13th. I'm not sure what time zone, so if you intend to join the giveaway, I would hop in as soon as you can so that you can be a part of this. But yeah, that's what I have for now. Just a few things.
Just a few things, it says. All right. I stumbled across some things that I thought was interesting. So let me go ahead. And first of all, this is just a friendly reminder to do keep an eye on the what's new on the Intune page. Some of the things Andrew mentioned definitely come from keeping an eye on this one over time, and it gets updated every now and then. There was some pretty good things that showed up here in the last week. So of course we will share the link to this one if you haven't seen this one early on. There was a post from, so let's see here. In December, Microsoft changed or fixed, I should say, an annoyance in Intune or Intune clients regarding the network, the firewall profile, the network like public-private domain. So now you actually have options to control that in a better way through the platform. Prior to that, you usually had some sort of script that went in and put those settings in play. I remember Jürgen Nilsson posted a script for that back in the days. But long story short, Peter van der Voorde put together a nice blog post that clarifies that behavior a bit and also shows you how to go ahead and configure that using the various settings that are now available for us. So good post, that one for sure. Then we have our good friend Matthias. I'm not exactly sure he sleeps like at all, but he put together this one as well, using Lenovo tools and a little bit of Intune to populate some additional information about Lenovo devices. So pretty cool stuff. Like that. I like that usage. And we see more and more solution pumping in data into log analytics, and we have covered probably 5 or 6 different solutions in the office hours over the last just a half year even. So we'll share the link to that one as well. Beautiful stuff. And of course, I have to say hi back to the cloud management community. I got a hi or a waving hi in the YouTube feed earlier. Friends in the community posting good stuff around Intune, Config Manager, and more. And they have a YouTube page as well listed here on their profile. We make sure to share that in our comments as well. So hi there, everyone. Hi, Bradley. Hi, Matt. Indominus was there somewhere. I saw a hi. Hope I didn't miss one. I certainly did not mean to.
No, I think that's everybody.
All right. So, questions. We love questions. If you have any, don't hesitate to ask. And I see there is one coming in already, and I think this is a follow-up for us to from last week regarding multilingual deployments. Basically, you have sequences that works beautiful with 20H2 and 21H2 in terms of language packs, but upon moving to 22H2, it no longer is happy at all and causes all sort of interesting side effects in the sequence, application failing deployment, etc. But only when switching to a different UI. I just got that sequence sent to me this afternoon, so unfortunately I didn't have time to do some testing on it. But it's not something I've stumbled across before. But on the other hand, we have very few customers that are using language packs that have gone up to 22H2 yet. So I will do some research on that until we see each other next week and see if I can come up with something. If someone out there happen to have stumbled across 22H2 Windows 10 issue with language packs, please let us know. I'll be happy to take that feedback as well. All right. See what else, Andrew.
We've got a question coming in on YouTube from Matt. You mentioned before that you'll create a blog post about configuration baselines and configuration items. Any updates on that?
It's in a draft, so at least I started with it. The scripts I was working on for that post, I believe here on this client. No, not that one, but here. What did I call those? Yeah, this one here. Some scripts to basically update the configuration file. I was playing around with those. One script to figure out whether a setting was the way I wanted it to be, and the second one to actually update the configuration file the way I wanted it to be. So a bit of XML data, patching that and fixing up that script. So yeah, hopefully this week I'll get that one posted. At least the scripts are done and it's not terribly complicated to create the baseline and add those in. And luckily, these will work as a proactive remediation script also in Intune for those of you that are using Intune. So this is what I've been playing along with. But this, I think, is a perfectly good use of a baseline. I was working with our own agent for one of our customers just this week earlier as well. They have a more complicated setup, but the concept is the same. You have a script that is looking for certain configurations, in this case also an XML file, and if it doesn't find it, these are the settings that are supposed to be there. If they're not, go ahead and actually fix them. So fairly straightforward use. Very, very useful. All right.
Very cool. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Was there some echo or something else going on?
Oh, maybe.
Oh. I think when I speak up, there's a little bit of echo on your end.
I'll turn my speakers down a little bit.
All right. It could also be people upstairs speaking a lot. We'll see.
That time of day, everybody's home and.
Yep. Let's see. Was mentioned regarding the language pack issue also, for going back to that for a second. They did open up a ticket I saw in the comments here, so we'll see if Microsoft support will have something to say on this matter as well. See who beats them. Us or them.
Right.
Now it's a challenge. All right. Let's see. Anything else coming in?
Looks like Matt said, yeah, there might be an echo, so I'm going to grab my headset, I think, just to be sure we don't get any more echo.
That will be all right. So let's see. We have another question coming in from YouTube here. Is there a way to gain access to vulnerability recommendations database for Windows 10? Anyone know about having that experience? I'm assuming what's being referred to here is what you also will have in Defender for Defender. That's a new product. Defender for Endpoint, where you have these. Assuming you have the license for it, that is, because it's not super cheap. But basically, what you will have here under recommendations in different products, and obviously this information is available, but I haven't seen anything of grabbing this from the Windows client itself, because this information comes from basically backend info. I haven't seen that.
No, same. Nothing clever I can think of.
Sorry about that. I don't. I think this is the only way to get it, because this is not coming from the client, as far as I know, at least. Maybe there is a hidden something secretly stashed away, but I haven't seen it. And I'm usually good at finding stuff like that, or at least see other people finding it.
Mm-hmm.
Spend way too much time on Twitter.
You and me both.
The Cloud Management Community commented and said basically you can probably grab it from Sentinel. That might very well be an option. I haven't tried that, but that sounds reasonable. Thank you for that. Great comment.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the information here, or that they asked, was to dive in more into this information and where to get it. Yeah, I don't have any more info, unfortunately, about that. I do not know. Where's what Trent when you need one?
And I think as far as the vulnerability management portion of Defender goes, if you already do have your devices onboarded into Defender, at least you'll see this right now, right? But I think we've determined that once this is out of preview, this is going to be even more money above and beyond Defender for Endpoint.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell.
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
Unless you answered this while I was grabbing my headset. Matt was asking on YouTube if anything about the final episodes for ConfigMgr.
I kind of gave up on those. I ran out of days or hours on the day. So I'll save them until next Christmas, because now releasing something from 2022 is like, nah. But the content I can do videos of, it just won't be under the ConfigMgr brand. So just the regular videos we've been posting before. For those of you that haven't stumbled across it, we have 2 YouTube channels that we maintain. It's obviously the ViaMonstra channel, where we have these office hours, but we also have this one that's been around for a long time, and this is from the blog, where we do share videos on typical topics or things that are solutions and tips and tricks and best practices and stuff that we stumble across in our consulting life, basically. So a few videos there, and we will add more as time goes by.
Great stuff on that channel. Some of those things are blasts from the past, that's for sure.
Yeah, those are fun. Here you can basically see my entire winter wardrobe collection 2022 in one page. Anyhow.
Yep.
Anything else out there? We still have a whopping 39 minutes.
Yeah. We've got another question from YouTube. How to configure and assign certificates for BitLocker management in SCCM.
All right, I'm assuming that is... we covered that a little bit last week, or briefly last week. The beautiful thing about BitLocker management in ConfigMgr these days is that starting in, I believe it was 2107, could be 2111 also, but if you have, even if you don't have a site set up for like true PKI or HTTPS, these days, if you only have enhanced HTTP, this one here, you can actually still use BitLocker management in ConfigMgr, and the ConfigMgr will take care of the background configurations for the certificate there for that particular role. But in assets and compliance, when you work with BitLocker management, these settings are very easy. They're very straightforward. They pretty much mimic what you did in the old MBAM configuration, and the settings are like more one for one, pretty much. The problem usually starts when you start to install the different portals that comes with it. There are two portals that comes with the platform, the self-service portal and the help desk portal, where I was actually whining last week about the script that was used to install them. It's not the greatest installer at all, but it does require some SQL script to generate a certificate, and then you have to export that certificate out so you have a backup of it. And there's also a function in the script that installs that certificate. It's somewhat good document on the Microsoft page. SQL certificate, maybe. Yeah, here we go. Close enough. Where they provided with the SQL code to create the certificate, back it up, and then verify that you actually have a functional certificate. In my lab environment, I'm working with this, and I worked with the first customer last year where we did this. I didn't have to do anything additional, but I have seen environments where we actually had to install that cert on the device as well, due to an issue in the script. I remember a noob wrote something related to that as well, because you get a pretty weird error in the script. But that's what I have on this one, I think. Anything else?
Not at the moment. But we definitely still have plenty of time.
Going back to talk about your Lego again. Finally finished up the Millennium Falcon, I know.
Yep, quite the project that was over break.
That was funny. We had Cloudway joining our class early this morning, and John Chetil just very proud showcased his build as well. It's not tiny.
No, not at all. I think when it's, so I have mine sitting up on the side, and when it's sitting up like that, it's about 2 feet tall and 2 feet wide. Quite a build.
Yeah. All right. That's another question coming in on YouTube, not Lego related. Best way to assign security scope to IT groups. That depends if this is Intune or ConfigMgr. I'm assuming this is role-based access questions.
Mm-hmm.
And since it's a security scope rather than scope tags, I would kind of guess it's ConfigMgr, but so basically, is this Intune or ConfigMgr? That would be the follow-up question. That would be
ConfigMgr.
ConfigMgr. All right. So RBAC in ConfigMgr is actually not too terrible. It's been around for a good few years. The documentation around it is pretty good as well. So we'll share out this link in the chat, but getting going with this is not too hard. We have been working with this quite a lot over the years. It was helping one customer. See if I have that environment up and running somewhere. Maybe on this one. Not going to reboot you now, thank you. But this kind of sounds like a promising environment or lab environment name, I think. We were trying to implement a 3-tier security solution like you have for Active Directory, but for Config Manager, which due to Config Manager's behavior is obviously impossible, since if you have full access to Config Manager, you have full access to Config Manager and all the system Config Manager manages. But with some creativity and bending the rules just a little bit on that architecture, it's not too bad. It can be done. So what we had there was that we started off with a quite traditional 3-tier architecture in Active Directory, where we defined all the different tiers and the admin accounts and whatnot. In this case was universities or different colleges and whatnot that needed access to different stuff in the environment. And then we had our site server, where we started to mimic some of this structure, because luckily these days you can even set security scopes down to folders now, something that was not possible earlier, which helped a lot when it started to work with this. And my console decided to take a short break there. But in terms of the users and security scopes, if I go to the various accounts that we were playing around with, of course these are the config manager accounts, but the admin users here, we just defined, and if you take like this one here, college one operators, they were assigned to certain scopes, and we used those scopes to secure all the objects that these particular admins were supposed to work with. So it's a little bit more it's hard to kind of go through like an end-to-end setup of RBAC in just a few minutes, but it's not too terrible. And as I mentioned, the documentation link that we provided there is pretty good, pretty straightforward to get going. What I like about Config Manager is that it's almost instant. Intune RBAC is not instant. You usually have to wait a little bit every time you make a change for it to affect the admin. But the same applies, it just named differently. So yeah.
I believe we actually had to have a coffee break for Intune RBAC yesterday.
Yeah, indeed. I remember you doing that config, and I'm like, let's have some coffee and come back. And sure enough, after the coffee break, it was there.
I always love sharing this story. I have fond memories. Maybe if I could learn to talk today. I have fond memories of Config Manager RBAC, because that is how you and I first met, was whiteboarding some quick RBAC configuration at what I believe was the last Tech Ed before it changed to Ignite.
That sounds reasonable. Yeah.
Just a
fun memories.
Yeah, definitely. Those were good days. All right. I've got a question actually from CloudManagement.Community on YouTube. Do you know if Defender for Endpoint or Intune supports USB blocking on macOS devices?
No, no idea. The main reason is I don't work with Macs at all. So that is...
Same. I did find something. They may have come across this themselves as well, but I was just trying to do some quick Googling on the side. If you want to share my screen, Johan.
For a small fee, that can be arranged.
Yeah, I'll meet up with you after office hours. I found some device control policies related to Defender and macOS. Again, I'm not sure if this is actually helpful or if this was exactly what you're looking for, if you've come across it, but it looked somewhat like what you might be asking for. So I think if I searched, allow or block removable devices. This little note does reference only storage devices, but if this helps, I figure we could at least throw it in our link list for today.
Absolutely. I mean, super glue in the USB port will do the trick too, right?
I think so.
A little bit of epoxy. Yeah.
Yeah, the OS doesn't even matter then. OS agnostic solution.
Extremely permanent too.
Yeah. Good luck getting rid of that. All right. Question actually coming in from LinkedIn. Have you ever experienced an issue where modifying a task sequence corrupts the account used for domain join? Not sure that's what happened, but the account got locked, and as far as we know, that was the only change in the environment. If so, any way to ID the issue when it occurs?
No, I have never seen a join account becoming corrupt because of anything a sequence can possibly do during deployment. It's just using that account to get the permissions to do the join or to update computer objects or part of a computer or different attributes of a computer object. I do know that Microsoft made some changes just last year or the end of last year in terms of permissions for that account or how basically that account is being treated during imaging, especially if you want to re-image the same device many, many times. There was some changes there. So possibly it could have something done with that update. I don't know. Unfortunately, something like that would probably be a not so nice support ticket and wait a long time to do that. Auditing may help find what's going on. I doubt you will get much out of the net setup log file on the client. It usually doesn't indicate much. But in this case, if it just happened once, I would just go ahead and create a new account if it's broken somehow and enable auditing on it and see if something can be found apart from that process, basically. But I've never seen an account being corrupted because of join domain.
No.
If anyone has stumbled across it, by all means, let us know.
Lockouts for sure, if there were a password that was changed and was not updated in the sequence, but I'm not sure that's exactly what's happening here. It doesn't sound like it. Seen plenty of that though, but not any corruption.
Yeah. Interesting scenario.
Mm-hmm. We'll definitely be interested if you do find a solution in the future.
Yeah, Richard, who asked the question, if you do stumble across a solution, we would very much like to know.
All right. Other question coming in from YouTube. We have a challenge. We've been asked to back up personal folders on a Mac. Wondering if that can be done using OneDrive. Any guidance if we know how? For me, same as the previous question on Mac. Unfortunately, don't have too much of a focus on those. So,
yeah, I'm not too terrible in terminal because it's pretty much Unix-ish.
mm-hmm.
But other than that, I haven't worked with it. I know how to order one because I had to do that for one of our video editors recently, but that's kind of separately. See some comments there regarding additional creative solution for USB ports. Breaking them off is, of course, a solution. might be also be a little bit like a one-way street.
Will prevent them from being used. There's no doubt about that.
That is true. All right, 23 minutes to go. More questions, please.
All right, we got another one that just came in. Do you recommend more than one DP distribution point and or management point for an environment around 1,500 workstations?
MP, definitely not. A single DP can easily handle a 5-digit number of machines. The supportable limit is 25K, but it's not enforced. But if your VM is somewhat beefy, a single MP will happily manage that number of machines. In terms of distribution point, that depends on usage. For example, if you work for organizations that do like mass deployments of images, or you do mass deployments of really large applications, yeah, you may definitely benefit from having more than one DP, depending on setup and depending where the clients are geographically. Stuff like that can also be mitigated with a bit of peer-to-peer. We've seen organizations removing hundreds of distribution points and just embracing a little bit more peer-to-peer on the client side. And then you only need one DP, basically. Usually recommend to have two, so at least you have one failover point for a DP, but for that small environment, multiple, no, not a requirement at all. The single DP supports technically 4,000 clients. Obviously not at the same time, but yeah. Or it's downloading something at the same time, it's going to be a busy server. I know from experience that if you do imaging and not using peer-to-peer, you typically break a DP around 80, 90 simultaneous deployments. That's usually when it says goodnight and checks in, or out rather, checks out. But if you do peer-to-peer, you can do tens of thousands of deployment. It just doesn't matter because it's just a few clients that talks to the server, to the distribution point, and then the clients just start to chatter to each other for the real content. Pretty cool to see. So yeah.
Very good.
Anything else?
A little bit of a teaser, I guess. You and I recently spoke about some improvements to your hydration kit that are starting to slowly but surely filter in.
Yes, I remember that. I saw some, I even approved them actually, some updates recently. And pretty sure you knew who did that also.
I think I might know that person. Still quite a few things to come. We've got some help making things a little bit easier to customize the kits, which are awesome. I don't want to divulge too much yet because, as I said, this is a teaser. But I suspect in the coming weeks we'll have some cool stuff to share.
Yeah, simplifying customization, better default stuff, improving. I blame Hargis for most of these requests, by the way. Totally. It's been.
There's the proof he needs to know that I told you he said so.
Sure did. Anything else out there? We do accept questions on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Fortunately not Twitter, because their API is not available for chat. But other than that, we've been so sad when they broke the TweetDeck.com link the other week.
Mm-hmm.
I was using that all the time. But that site is way down, so now we have to do tweetdeck.twitter.com every time.
Oh no.
Yep. But I don't see anything else coming in, so I guess we'll give everyone a few minutes back to their day. And Andrew, thank you so much for joining as usual, and everybody out there, thanks for asking questions and tuning in. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good week, everybody.